today we will be starting numerical methods, and the topic that we are going to discuss under numerical methods is nothing but bisection method. Okay, now why do we use numerical methods and where do we use numerical methods? So in many scientific research and studies in engineering, the most frequently occurred problem is to find roots for f of x is equal to 0. Okay, so now what is f of x? As you all know, f of x is nothing but a function of x. Now this function can take any form. It can be biquadratic, it can be quadratic, it can be cubic. So in all these cases there exist algebraic methods to find roots for these functions in the terms of coefficients. But when it comes to transcendental equations, or when it comes to transcendental functions or polynomial functions, then these algebraic methods are not enough. So we will have to find out some other methods to find the roots of these functions. So such a method is a bisection method. You will be studying more methods to find the root of a particular function when it is given. Now there are limitations for bisection method. Bisection method is generally an iterative method, so it takes a lot of time. It's very time consuming, and since it is iterating and there are a lot of steps involved, the chance of errors is high. So the accuracy is accuracy that the accurate root that you might get will not be reliable at times. Okay, so in that case we will move on to another method, but since we have this in our studies, we will have to study what bisection method is all about. Now before moving on to bisection method, I would like to introduce you some terms and some functions, some different kind of functions. So first we will take a look at what is a polynomial function. This is the algebraic function of the form. Now you see what the function written over here. What is it? Fn of x is equal to a naught x raised to n plus a1 x raised to n minus 1 plus a2 x raised to n minus 2 plus etc. plus an minus 1 x plus an. So just don't worry about the length of this function. Now when n is equal to 1, this might get smaller, and so this is a general format of what is called as a polynomial. Okay, now here if you closely inspect, you can see there are nothing related to it, nothing related to any trigonometric functions. Okay, so that is why I said this is an algebraic form of the function and it is called as a polynomial. But here when a function like this comes up, you can use what bisection method to find out the roots of the equation. So what is the ultimate aim or the ultimate objective of our whole studying of bisection method is to find out the roots of the equations of the form f of x is equal to 0. Now this f of x can be either algebraic or it can be another one I said before, but I hope you might remember it. What is that? Another function? Yes, you are correct. That is nothing but transcendental functions. Now what are transcendental functions? Yes, transcendental functions are those functions where, yes, any trigonometric functions are involved, or logarithmic expression or exponential expressions are involved. Those are called transcendental functions. So let's have a look at some of the examples of a transcendental function. Now these are the examples of transcendental functions. Now just closely observe these functions that I have written over here. So first one is f of x, and it has a logarithmic function in it, expression in it. So that's why it is called as a transcendental function. Now the second function phi of x, if you see that, closely observe that the first term is nothing but e raised to minus 0.5x, which is again, yes, an exponential term over there. So that's why again this function is called a transcendental function. Now Coming on to the third one, psi of x. A trigonometric function sine square x, a trigonometric term, it is involved in this function. So again, this is called a transcendental function. So these three are a few examples that I can quote right now. And again, I would say that our primary objective is to find out the roots of the equation of the form, either of this form or of something like this, where the exponential or logarithmic or sine trigonometric functions and the polynomial functions can be both involved, or it can be alone a polynomial function, or it can be either alone a transcendental function. So all these three cases can arise, and your aim is to find out the roots of these functions. So next we will move on to the first method of how to find the roots of a function when it is given, and that method we are going to look forward is bisection method. Now, bisection method is based on the intermediate value theorem. Okay, now let's just start how we can do the bisection method to find out the roots of the function f of x. Okay, f of x is equal to 0. Now this f of x can be, as I said, it could be polynomial, it could be a transcendental function, or it can be an algebraic function. Now that doesn't matter over here. We are going to write down some steps involved in the bisection method. So as I said, we are going to find out the roots of the function f of x is equal to 0, and here f of x is equal to 0. F of x is a continuous function. So this is really important. It should be a continuous function, and continuous between 2 points A and B. Okay, so it's nothing but f of x is a continuous function which is what? Continuous between A and B. Okay, now keep that in mind. Now I'm going to draw a graph where this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, and let this be a function f of x. Okay, now there are 2 points A and B. Now as I said, what I have written over here, that's only I have drawn over here. Okay, so what does this mean? F of x is a function which is a continuous function. That's why it doesn't have a break over here. It cuts over here. Okay, so keep that in mind. It cuts over here. Just keep that in mind. And it's continuous between the points A and B. Now let's have a look. I'm going to draw like this. And let this be like this. I'm going to. Now this point is called f of B, which is, so as you can see, it is over here in the positive side. So this is positive, and here this one is down here below. So this is negative. Okay, so I have taken this according to my convenience. You can write down the points like, instead of A, you can write B over here and A over there. That's all up to you. The only thing that you have to remember is that f of x is a continuous function between any 2 points. It could be A and B, or in between the interval A and B, and it takes the value f of A, and that can be negative, and f of B, and that can be positive. Okay, so I hope you have understood the diagram. So it's nothing but f of x is equal to 0. F of x is a continuous function between the interval A and B. Keeping your picture in your mind, you can say that it's continuous between A and B such that f of A and f of B are of opposite signs, right? Are of opposite signs. So coming back to bisection method, when you get a function like f of x, and if you are asked to find out what are the roots of this, what are the roots of f of x? Now the first step that you have to follow, step 1. What is the step 1? I will say what step 1. Step 1 is nothing but you have to find out this a and b. So that is the step 1. Find a and b. Okay, now I am going to imply a condition. You just can't find a and b like that as you think. There is a condition such that f of a and f of b should be of opposite signs. Okay. Now again, for my convenience, I am going to write f of a as negative and f of b as positive. So this is the step 1. As soon as you get these two things, that is f of a is negative and f of b is negative, you can find out the root. When I say root, you can't find out the approximate root. It's not necessary that you get the exact root. You can find an approximate root. Sometimes you can find an approximate root, or sometimes you can find an exact root. So this confusion will be rectified, or you will become more interested when you go through a problem. We will apply all these steps in the problem and you will understand it in a better sense. But before that, I am going to write down some steps and you just go through it. Okay. Now, after this step, what you have to do is just bisect the interval. When I say bisect the interval, here what is the interval? A, B. Now here, the interval is A comma B. Okay. Now step 2 is you bisect the interval A comma B. When you bisect the interval A comma B, what is going to happen? A plus B divided by 2. This is what we do in bisecting an interval, and we are going to assign this to a value called x0, and here x0 is the approximate root. That is what I would like to call. x0 is the approximate root. Approximate root of the function f of x. Okay, so now what is step 2? Bisect A comma B. That is, what are you doing? A plus B divided by 2 is equal to x naught, and you are getting the approximate root. Step 2, as I said, what we bisect, we found x naught, and we are thinking that it could be the approximate root. We are not sure. So there are 3 conditions or 3 cases that we can check whether x naught is the correct root or it is less than approximate root. Now, case 1, when f of x naught is equal to 0. If f of x naught is equal to 0, then you can stop the process and conclude that x naught is the root. Okay, now, case 2, when f of x naught is less than 0. That is, if f of x naught is a negative quantity. If it is a negative quantity, what are we going to do? We are going to change A and B. So currently our interval was A, B. Now we are going to give a small change for our interval. Okay, now what will be that? When it is a negative, if it is a negative quantity, we are going to change A as x naught. So here I would like to say that in step 2, I am going to address A as A1. That is the new interval. Okay, A1 is equal to x naught, and B, we know that the old interval B, right now I am keeping it as B, that I'm going to write it as b itself, because if f of x naught is less than 0, if it is a negative quantity, I'm not going to like change the b part, that is the point b. I'm only going to change the a part. You know why? Because I have assumed that f of a is negative in the earlier stage. I hope you remember that. So all these things will be more clear when we come to a problem. Okay, now let's take a look at this. I hope this is okay with you. Now here I have written it as b equal to b, but I can't write that because it is again a new step, a new iteration. So I'm going to give this value b1. Okay. I hope this is fine with you, and there is no change over here, but I'm just assigning b1 for the sake of convenience. Okay, now so this is the case 2. Now case 3 is that f of x naught can be greater than 0. It could be a positive quantity. So when it is a positive quantity, when it is a positive quantity, here the exact opposite is going to happen in the case 2, exact the opposite of case 2. That is, there will be no change in the point A, but for the sake of convenience, I am going to give it as A1. I am going to denote it as A1, and that is equal to A. Okay, I am not going to make any change, and the B part, the B point will change. Now here I am going to assign it as b1 is equal to x naught. Okay, so just remember that if f of x naught is a negative quantity, the change comes in the point A. There won't be any change in B. If it's case 3, that is if it is a positive quantity, the change is going to happen in the B part, that is the B point. Okay, and A won't change. A is just the same in case 3. Okay, now the next step, step 3, since you have found out A1 and B1, next step is, this is the new interval, A1 and B1. Okay, so the next step is again what we have to, actually the next step is again repeat step 2. So I'm not going to write repeat step 2. I'm going to show what is going to happen. So I'm going to bisect A1 and B1 again. I'm going to bisect that interval, this particular interval. So A1 plus B1 divided by equal to, I'm going to write it as x1, which new approximate root, or it could. Step 3 is to find out, as I said, step 3 is to find what we are going to bisect the new interval, that is A1 plus B1 divided by 2, and I'm going to assign it to x1, and it is a root, but I'm not sure which root it is. Okay, so is it an approximate root or it's an exact root? We have to find that out. Now f of x1 is equal to 0, which means that x1 is the root. So stop the process here itself and you can declare the answer. But if it's not that case, you have to check f of x1 is less than 0. Then what you have to do is change this a1. If it is less than 0, change a1. And if it is greater than 0, if it is a positive quantity, change b1. Okay, so here you have to find out that like these two cases persist, since this is not equal to 0. So if f of x1 is less than 0, then you have to change here a, and this won't change. Then f of x1 is greater than 0. If it is positive value, then you have to change b, but you don't have to change the a part. Now all these things will be clear when you move on to the problem section. And I would like to say that this process will continue until you get f of xn is equal to 0. Okay, and let's see, by doing a problem we can arrive at that place, because in bisection method there are lots of times you will have to iterate, and most probably in some cases 12 to 15 times. So that's why it is said that this method is very time consuming and the errors can happen anytime. So yes, so we will find a way to find an accurate root for the function f of x, and that too using bisection method. So that saying that, we'll move on to our problem.